Sports Attack.
I'm Nick, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, Cory, doing this quarantine edition. How you doing down there, man?
I'm hanging in there, man. Crazy outside.
Me too.
Crazy everything that's going on.
Oh, it's been crazy, and we've actually experienced a crazy start to free agency so far. I know, folks, we did miss last week. We both decided that it was better to get more of this free agency, the NFL free agency, under our belts. So here we go. Cory, Tom Brady left New England after how many years and is signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or should I say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What are your thoughts on Tom Brady signing with the Bucs?
You know, as we've kind of talked on our previous show before, you know, it was one of those places where it was kind of an upgrade for him because of the young talent around him. I really think it's a smart move for him. Obviously, having weapons with Mike Evans, having 2,000-yard receivers and Mike Evans, and I always forget his name, can't think of his name, but he's out there as well. Godwin. Yeah, Chris Godwin, excuse me. Yep, Chris Godwin. So the two of them are great. You know, running back position will be all right. But, you know, Tom Brady, it went from pretty much rags to riches is really what he kind of did from New England to the Buccaneers as to what the kind of talent that he's made. I think it's a good move for him. Obviously, it's weird for me. Obviously, right now, it's still kind of weird for me to think that he's not going to be in a New England uniform. But, you know, I like the move, and it's kind of going to be interesting to kind of see how that kind of changes because of the just kind of the change of him not going to be in the AFC anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be weird not to see Brady in a Patriots uniform come the start of the season. But, man, I'm telling you what, this was a great pickup for the Bucs. They basically hit a home run at quarterback, obviously, this free agency. But, you know, one thing that outside of those 2,000-yard receivers, one thing Tom Brady loves is a dominant big tight end, and he finally has one now again in O.J. Howard. That connection is going to be great all this upcoming season. It's going to be great all year long. So I'm really excited to see that. Man, it's just going to be crazy not to see Brady, though, in the AFC. And I might be speaking too soon, but and this might be a very bold statement as well, Cory, but that division just became the best in football. I mean, you got Breeze down there too. That division is going to be really tough this upcoming year.
Yeah, and that was kind of one of the reasons why I was kind of hesitant about him going there is because that division is so good. So it's not like, you know, he can just be average. Now, obviously, Tom Brady has won double-digit victories God knows how many times. So, you know, I mean, it's not to be a shock that happens again. But I think they have to for them to even have a shot in that division.
Yeah, they could probably split with the Saints and still make the playoffs or win the division. But, you know, one thing I saw on an interview with Bruce Arians today was the key to their success on the field is going to be pushing the ball downfield. And we know how much Tom Brady loves to do that. But he's also not afraid to check it down when he needs to. So, you know, and the big question is in your opinion, Court, can Tom Brady still push the ball down the field like he used to?
Yeah, it's going to be something to watch because he definitely has the talented receivers now to be able to do that and to be able to push the ball down the field.
Yeah. Do you think he still has the capabilities, though?
Yeah, I do. I think he can still, again, a lot of the offense that he ran in New England was a lot of dink and dump and then out routes. And I think with the Buccaneers, the head coach, Bruce Arians, you know, I think together they can come with something that's gonna work well. And I think that you're gonna see Tom Brady push the ball downfield more than you have before.
Yeah, I feel like he's set up for a big year. You know, going with the Bucs. You know, it's still kind of unreal just to think that he left New England. I mean, the Bucks do have a lot of cap space though, so I feel like they're going to be a little bit more active here in the upcoming, weeks leading up to the draft. But they all, and they're just set up prime right now to make the playoffs and make a Super Bowl run, especially with Tom Brady. I mean, you got to think having Tom Brady and those 2,000-yard receivers with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, having a dominant tight end, and O.J. Howard, you got to think they're the favorites coming out of the NFC this year, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of hope we get to see, it's not one of those things that we were expecting, but I think at this point you would like to say that it'd probably be Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs versus Tom Brady's Bucks if I had to kind of set it up right now.
Yeah, I would say the same. I would say the Chiefs can go back out of the AFC, and then Tom Brady and his Bucks could find their way back into the Super Bowl. Another big quarterback that was on the move, core, Phillip Rivers left San Diego and signed with the Colts. Your initial reaction when you saw that?
I mean, we all kind of knew that the Phillip Rivers era in Los Angeles was kind of over. I don't know. I really don't know how to feel. Obviously, Phillip Rivers likes to throw the ball down the field. The Colts have some deep threats as well with T.Y. Hilton. Phillip Rivers to the Colts is probably a smart move. Veteran quarterback presence. As they're kind of, I don't even know what's really going on in Indianapolis, but, it's kind of what they're going to do. Looks like maybe they're going to throw the football a little bit more, and Phillip Rivers is that guy. Phillip Rivers loves to throw the ball 30, 40 times a game. So, you like to see that offense might be able to, push the ball downfield more so than they have. And, obviously with Tom Brady being gone, the Colts, this could be something, Phillip Rivers obviously not really had great luck in the playoffs getting there even, but, it's kind of a match that kind of works. The Colts do have some weapons, and I think Phillip Rivers needed kind of a fresh start. So I think it's something that really could work for both parties.
Yeah, it definitely has the potential to work out. One key thing that you did say there, Core, was, he loves throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game. When he was in San Diego, he was slinging it upwards of 50 times a game. So my question to you is, are we going to see the Phillip Rivers who can throw the ball 50 times, a game, or is at this point in his career, is it all those hits and, and all those, throwing the ball that much over, over his extended career? Is that finally taking a toll on him? Do you think he still is able to be able to do that consistently for, I think, 16 weeks now?
So I do. I think Phillip Rivers still has a lot of juice left. I think he wants the challenge. He likes the challenge, and I think he's ready to kind of help this team get over the hump. I do think they're ready. I do think that he can do it as well. It's all about that offensive line, though, in Indianapolis. That offensive line can keep Phillip Rivers up top. They will be, the Colts will be a little scary.
Yeah, I think the more key, though, for their offense, obviously, is you have to have good offensive line play, but I really think it's keeping T.Y. Hilton healthy. He's one of the best receivers in football. He's proven that when he's on the field, and I really think the key to their success is keeping him healthy for as long as possible. Because, the past few years he has gone with, mid-season injuries. So I think, personally, my key to the Colts is keeping T.Y. Hilton on the field, giving Rivers his number one receiver to throw to. They do have Paris Campbell there, who's a speedy guy who can, you put him in the slot. He's a speedy guy. He can find the soft spot in zones or even beat a linebacker, which would be a good matchup for, Phillip Rivers to throw him the ball. But I really think that's the key, though, is you got to keep T.Y. Hilton healthy.
Absolutely. Obviously, with the way Rivers throws the ball downfield makes you think that him and T.Y. Hilton could be a star combination, and I absolutely agree. But that doesn't happen if T.Y. Hilton obviously does not stay healthy.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I think the real success, like I was saying, is T.Y. Hilton has to stay healthy. Without him on the field, their offense will struggle this upcoming season. I just don't think he has enough star power weapons, if you will, to be able to get over that hump if T.Y. Hilton's out for an extended period of time. I don't know about you, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's the move. I like the move just because Tom Brady is no longer in the AFC. So Phillip Rivers has an even more of a fighting chance now with Indianapolis. Another interesting move quarterback-wise that we kind of saw was Nick Foles to the Bears. I just a shocking move for me. I was not seeing that coming. Obviously, I know that was via trade. Obviously, and I know we're going to get to trades soon, but obviously, quarterback-wise, I think Nick Foles to the Bears is a very strange to me move.
Oh, definitely a strange move, but we'll get into that here in a minute. What I would really like to get into right now, since we are 5-1-3, Core, why don't you give us a lowdown on some of these Bengals signings that we have?
So, obviously, I've been preaching a long time for the Bengals that we really need an offensive line, and not really doing too much on the offensive line. They've obviously signed a couple guys here and there, but the Bengals this year have kind of made a living in the free agent world with the cornerback position. The cornerback position, obviously not just corner, obviously we'll just say the whole secondary, honestly. Obviously, they signed Von Bell, who obviously from Ohio State, you're kind of neck of the woods there, Nick. But Von Bell, very solid from the Saints. They signed him to a 3-year deal, which obviously assures them the secondary up, as they needed a strong safety, as he is an upgrade to what we had last year. And then they also signed, I'm not a huge fan, but they signed Trey Waynes, who is, I think, just an average corner, but has a lot of experience, which I think can help. Obviously, we can have a more experienced secondary. And then up front, it always helps to get big guys. They also signed DJ Reader, who is a defensive lineman, who's just a really strong. J.J. Watt, played with J.J. Watt last year, and, J.J. Watt raved about him, said he's really strong and talented. So, obviously the Bengals not just signing on just defense, obviously, but those were the kind of major ones I wanted to hit because those are the big deals that they made. And, obviously they've been aggressive in free agency, and it's nice to see them being aggressive in that setting. Obviously, they're not usually big money spenders in free agency, but it's nice to see them going out and getting positions and filling needs and voids that they have that they're not going to necessarily be able to address in the draft.
Yeah, definitely. I really like the Von Bell signing, personally. Not just because he's from Ohio State, just because he's one heck of a player. That guy's a standout corner in this league. He's going to do great things for you guys down in Cincinnati, for the Bengals organization. He's going to play hard. I do like that you guys did sign a new, defensive end or defensive lineman to pair, with Sam Hubbard now entering, his third year. Yeah,
I believe, yeah. I believe his third year.
His second or third year. Yeah, his second or third year he's entering. So that's going to give, take a lot of pressure off him as well. And also, with that being said, that's all, with having Von Bell back there, who I consider a lockdown corner. He was that way with the Saints, didn't really allow a lot of completions his way, especially on those key downs. So, with that being said, I mean, speaking as a defensive minded person, you got to love that because that just gives your front line more time to get to the quarterback if you have a lockdown corner. So, hats off to the Bengals for those big signings.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to kind of see this Bengals defense. it's kind of remade with young talent. So to be able to have a little bit of experience as well is nice to have. I know obviously the Bengals have made some signings here. Why don't you kind of give us a little lowdown as to what's happening in Cleveland?
Oh man. So the Browns have, like you said, they never really try to go out and get big free agents. But this year they got two people that I absolutely love. Jack Conklin, they signed him out of Tennessee, a left tackle. He is going to be great. We were so bad at left tackle last year, protecting Baker's blind spot, that, it caused some disruption in the offense. And to have a stud, just an absolute stud at your left tackle position is so huge in football. And I'm so glad that we got him. The other guy that I'm so glad that we got as well is Austin Hooper. He's a great pass catcher, a great run blocker as well. The guy does it all. Throughout his career, you could tell he's a Hall of Famer already. So I'm super glad that we have him. He brings leadership into the locker room on offense. He's always been a guy that's been more about the team and less about me, which is really what you really need in Cleveland. We have a lot of loud personalities, if you will, with Odell, with Jarvis, with Baker, that I think Austin Hooper will be able to bring those guys down to earth, as well as another person who could bring them down to earth is Case Keenum. With Sinetsky being the head coach, he played with him in Minnesota, under him in Minnesota, and ran that offense. I think that's going to help Baker Mayfield so much this offseason. Being able to have a quarterback who took his team to the NFC Championship under that offense and say, hey, this is how you run the offense. He's going to get some knowledge that he hasn't had before from a veteran quarterback, who knows what it takes to win, who knows what it takes to get to that big game. Even though he didn't win it, he still knows what it takes to get there. And as I've said before, Corey, and to you, is the intangibles that those guys can teach these young guys, you can never put a value on that. And that's what I think Austin Hooper and Case Keenum are going to bring to this team. And it's just been great. We did fill a linebacker position at Goodson. He's going to be phenomenal for us. We picked up another corner in Alumba. But those three main guys, Austin Hooper, Conklin, and Case Keenum, man, those guys are going to be so huge to the Browns franchise that it's going to be a great season to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do like the Austin Hooper move. I was a little shocked at first when I saw that. Obviously, you guys do have David Njoku, who I really like. I think he's an up-and-coming tight end. But obviously, like you said, you can't teach experience. And the experience that Austin Hooper brings is going to be very, very helpful to the Browns. Obviously, you know what I say about offensive line. Anytime you can upgrade your offensive line, I think you're doing something right. So obviously with the Conklin deal, that's probably a smart move for the Browns as well. Obviously the AFC North is a little kind of weaker as we kind of talk about it, but we do still have some. Obviously, we're looking at probably having three really young quarterbacks in the league. Obviously, with Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and then you could have Joe Burrow as well. Obviously, the AFC North is kind of up and coming, so to have some experienced guys is going to be very helpful for the Browns. Obviously, with all the talent they already have, so you would like to think that they would be the front runners to win the division.
Oh yeah, and speaking of Njoku, I love him as one of our tight ends. He's a big physical guy, and to pair him with Austin Hooper is just going to be having two great pass catchers at tight end. You have arguably you could make a case for Odell to be a top 3 receiver in the league, and then you also have Jarvis Landry on the other side. It's going to be a headache for opposing defensive coordinators next season with this Browns new looking offense, with adding Austin Hooper, Jack Conklin, with pairing them with, Nick Chubb, who's just who's proven to be a dominant running back. We still have Kareem Hunt, I believe. So that the Browns offense should be no question, should be great this year. I really think the biggest question though is how the defense is going to show up. But like you said though, the AFC North, man, we have the potential of 3 young quarterbacks in this. I know you said Joe Burrows might be coming to Cincinnati. Another rumor that I was kind of hearing thrown around was maybe Andy Dalton gets traded or released from the Bengals and ends up signing with the Patriots. What are your thoughts on that?
So I don't think the Bengals are going to drop Andy Dalton. I personally think, at this moment, you have to take what you can get. And I really think, I've said this all along, take nothing from Joe Burrows. I think he could be a phenomenal quarterback here. But I also think you could be better off in certain situations. But Andy Dalton to the Patriots would make sense. Although I've been hearing a lot of things that the trades are dead and they don't really want his contract with the 1 year left and whatnot. So I don't know that that's going to happen. But the Bengals have actually come out and said that Andy Dalton, we're open to trading him and we're open to him staying on and being a quarterback in the quarterback room as well, opting for a starting job. I've kind of told you this. If we draft the quarterback number 1 overall, I don't know that you want to start him right away. I know that if it's Joe Burrows, I just have this feeling they're going to. But I wouldn't mind just sitting back, having Andy Dalton a year, getting your offensive line better, getting it gelled, everyone working together, and then maybe starting fresh after his contract runs up and he's gone. But, obviously, if you can trade Andy Dalton and get something for him, I think there's a lot of potential for that. Another potential move would love to see, honestly, is I would love to see the Bengals trade that number 1 pick. Trade it for some other picks and maybe move down a little bit, and you could sign maybe a quarterback who could get you through, who has something to prove, maybe like a Cam Newton. So, there's a lot of ways they could go. But I think holding on to Andy Dalton, if you can get something good for him trade-wise, I think it's time to move him. But if not, instead of just dropping him, I would just hold on to him and let whoever is, that quarterback you have next watch over for a year and then come into the 2021 season with, the 2021, 2022 season with that new quarterback.
Definitely. I like that. I like that idea. I've never been a big guy on starting a rookie right out of the gates. I just never like that. The quarterback, and it's not a knock on quarterbacks, but some of them are so mentally fragile that if you put them out there too early, and they, and they're not playing well, they're throwing interceptions and all this stuff, it really shoots their confidence. And at the quarterback position, you cannot play with doubting yourself. You have to be confident in every decision that you're making, every audible that you call, every protection that you call, every, your decision where where you're going to go with the ball. You have to do that with confidence. And, if they do that with Joe Burrows, go out there and start him and they kill his confidence early, well, then you just wasted your number 1 overall pick. So I do like that, the fact that they're open to trading Dalton, but they're also saying, hey, we can keep him for a year, and let Joe Burrow sit behind him and learn for a year. And then we're going to move on after his contract's done. That's what I would do. Like you said, unless you get a deal that you really can't refuse for him, hang on to him. Even trading that number 1 pick down to maybe even draft an offensive lineman would make sense. and then signing like you said, the likes of Cam Newton, who still is basically without a job right now, because he's definitely not going back to Carolina,
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like Cam Newton could get you through for a couple of years until you could find that guy. But if you're sold on Joe Burrows, then you're sold on Joe Burrows and you take him. But I think if you can get 3 first-round picks and move down, and let's say move down to like 4 or 5, you still could get a future quarterback, maybe in like a Justin Herbert, or you could probably get an offensive lineman, or you could get a wide receiver, or you could get some talent that will fill a need for you rather than just obviously taking a quarterback number 1 with some talent still out there. But if Joe Burrows is the guy that you've been sold on, then Joe Burrows is that guy.
Yep. As they said as Kevin Costner wrote down, Vontae Mack, no matter what. And if that's your Vontae Mack, then you got to take him, right?
That's right. Yeah. So I'm not in the conversations that they're having. I'm not in those talks. If Joe Burrows is what they're saying he is and is being that guy in and out of meetings and everything like that, and he's your Vontae Mack, then you take him.
Yeah, I agree. I think Joe Burrows is not – he's a guy you could pass on, but I feel like if you do pass on him, he's one of those guys that's going to make you regret it, That's the type of player I think he is. I think if he wasn't taken number 1 overall, he would go out there and prove the Bengals why they should have taken him number 1 overall. That's just the type of kid that he takes me as. But let's move on, like you were talking earlier here, Cory. Let's move on to some trades that happened so far this NFL, the beginning of the NFL year. You mentioned it before. Nick Foles got traded to the Bears for, I believe it was a 4th-round pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. I'm shocked. I don't know why the Bears would go out. I don't know why the Bears would go out and make this move. Obviously, Nick Foles being a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but obviously Mitchell Trubisky's not cutting it. Obviously, we're now seeing that maybe he was not worthy of that number 2 overall pick. I don't know. I don't know if Nick Foles is going to come in and start. I don't know. I don't know what to think of this move. I really am not sure.
See, I'm not even thinking of it from a Bears aspect. I'm thinking of it from Jacksonville's aspect. Like, did you just see 1 year of Nick Foles and was like, we're okay. We got Gardner Minshew. He's the future. And like, is that what you're thinking based off of the sample size that you had with him? Because I mean, if that's what you're feeling, I get making that move. But I mean, Nick Foles he's a great QB. He's he's an average quarterback in the league. And you know what? With an average quarterback with some talent around him, he could take you to the playoffs and go and make a Super Bowl run. That's the type of guy he is. He's not gonna lose you games, as we say, as we've always talked about. And a guy I'm not going to compare him, but who he is similar to in that aspect of he's not going to lose you a game is like the likes of AJ McCarron. He's not going to go out there and lose you a game. He's going to control the game. And I just can't believe Jacksonville was willing to move on with him for so cheaply, if you will. I mean, a 4th-round pick. The Bears. On the other hand, though, Cory, with the Bears, they got a steal out of Nick Foles for a 4th-round pick. Even with his contract the way it is, that's a steal to get that. To get a Nick Foles guy for a veteran QB for a 4th-round pick. Now, what I really think they did was to put some motivation behind Trubisky here. They've given him the shot and they're saying, hey, if you're not going to go out there and perform, we got the next guy waiting. So it's now the ball's in your court.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
So Let's move on to this trade. We're going to say the biggest one for last because that one just blew my mind. But let's move on to this one. Stephon Diggs got traded to the Bills. Do you think that had a lot to do with his attitude towards that end of the season there in Minnesota?
I think it had a little bit to do with it. As a Buffalo, if you're a Buffalo fan, you gotta love it. This is something you get a prime receiver. Stephon Diggs is a great receiver. Not maybe not the best, maybe not top 10, but he's a great receiver and is going to give Josh Allen something that he hasn't had in Buffalo, obviously in his couple of years. Hasn't had. So I really like the trade for Buffalo. I from a Minnesota standpoint, I think it has to be the attitude. I don't think it can be anything else. I mean, Mike Zimmer does not take a lot of crap. He didn't take a lot of crap when he was the defensive coordinator here in Cincinnati. Not taking a lot of crap in Minnesota. So I really like the move for the Bills. As for the Vikings, it's if you're a Vikings fan, I'm sure you're sad because Stephon Diggs was a really great player. But obviously, I think the attitude had.
Him and Adam Thielen, that was just such a deadly 1-2 combo. But I think you're right. I think it has to do a lot with his attitude towards the end of the season there. That's my opinion. But like you were saying though, Cory, with going to the Bills, Josh Allen, he finally has a stud receiver to throw the ball to. And that offense is going to be great. I really do kind of think that division is the Bills to lose at this point, especially not having Tom Brady in the division.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Cory, I'm going to let you take this one over because this is your boy. You always love this guy come fantasy time. Take this one over.
Yes. So, I can't, I'm shocked. Nuck, as he's called, Deandre Hopkins, traded to the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, they are believing in you, sir. I'm shocked. DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk and all of that talent that you've got in Arizona. And obviously you did give up David Johnson in the trade, but I think they kind of knew that David Johnson was kind of going to be on his way out anyway. So I don't mind trading David Johnson, especially when you get DeAndre Hopkins. As a Houston Texans, if I'm in, I don't know what's going on in the minds. I really don't know what's going on in the minds. There's something there that we're not hearing, something that's not being told to us. I was just as shocked as you are to see that DeAndre Hopkins got traded. Obviously, arguably the best receiver in the game. Arguably, catch radius wise, I don't know. Arizona is the NFC just keeps getting better and better every time you look at it.
Yeah. They just keep making the NFC. The teams in the conference in the NFC have just made so many good moves so far this offseason. But I still can't believe you would, Cory. What I can't believe is what do we always talk about with quarterbacks and wide receivers? You have to have good chemistry. And there was no better chemistry in the league. There was one better quarterback wide receiver duo that had the best chemistry, better than DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson. And that was Brady and Julian Edelman, but they played together for so long. DeAndre, why, if you're Houston, why are you getting rid of the best receiver in the league? Hands down, right now, DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in the league. Why are you getting rid of him? You guys were there in the playoffs. J.J. Watt was coming off of an injury and everything. You had all the tools there to be successful as a franchise, and then you go and give and trade away your best pass catching option. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, I really am not sure. Obviously, with that, obviously the Cardinals just kind of soar. And obviously I don't want that to get lost Obviously, everyone's saying, it was weird that what Arizona was doing, but, obviously we look now and Arizona really did have a plan. Get Kyler Murray, get him some extra help, and now they might be able to compete.
Yeah. So what do you think this move does for Kyler Murray? Speaking about, going into his second year in the league, what do you think this trade does for him?
I think obviously we kind of always look at things from a fantasy perspective. Looking at it that way, I would kind of look at Kyler Murray maybe being like a top 10 fantasy quarterback now. I think he's going to have a big year. You expect DeAndre Hopkins to still have 90 catches, 100 catches for over 1,200 yards and probably 10 touchdowns. If he has that kind of year, Kyler Murray still has Larry Fitzgerald and all that other talent around him. So I think it's going to be a big year for Kyler Murray.
I do too. I think this elevates Kyler to a different level, not only with his passing ability, but with his running ability that he displayed last year. With having having the best receiver in football paired with Christian Kirk, paired with Larry Fitzgerald, that's going to drop a lot of people back, and that's going to open up some running lanes for Kyler. So I think not only in the passing game is it going to help him develop as a passer as well, but it's going to help his running game a lot. That offense is going to be tough to stop this upcoming year.
Yeah, it's going to be the thing that I like most is it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, especially with the way they run that offense under Kingsbury. It's going to be a really fun year in Arizona.
Oh, yeah, that offense is going to be really great to watch. All right, Cor. So, we've kind of already gone over, just not everything that happened in free agency, but, the big things that really just stood out to you and I, trade-wise and some big signings here. Who's your winner and who's your loser of this year's free agency so far?
So, obviously the easy pick would be to go with Tampa Bay and obviously with Tom Brady, or even let's say the Arizona Cardinals and DeAndre Hopkins. But I really think the winner of free agency is the Bills. I really think the Bills made the biggest splash with getting Stephon Diggs. Something that they didn't have that they can use and need is something. Now, obviously, yes, maybe not the biggest name and it's not the biggest contract, but I think they're a big winner. Obviously, my biggest loser, I think it's no surprise right now. I think, obviously, you could go with New England, but my loser right now I'm going to go with is the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the reason they're my loser is because you lost your starting quarterback and your starting running back with Melvin Gordon going to Denver. So I'm not really sure what you can say about the Chargers as, obviously you still have Keenan Allen and you still have Mike Williams and you still have some talent around there and you signed Hunter Henry, but you haven't filled anything you really need. So and they've lost everything. So they got to be my loser.
Yeah. I have to agree with you on the winner. Obviously the obvious choice obviously would say Tom Brady to the Bucks, but I have to agree with you. What the Bills did with getting Stephon Diggs takes their offense to the next level, having that stud receiver. That to me is they won free agency with that. Now my loser though, my loser has to be the Colts. I just don't understand the Phillip Rivers signing, giving him paying him what they're paying him, especially at his age, and not proven himself in the playoffs. That to me is just I just don't understand it, especially when you have like the likes of a Cam Newton out there, who you could have maybe worked out a trade with the Panthers, just because Cam's younger. He doesn't have all that wear and tear on his body that Phillip Rivers has, and Cam still has a lot of a lot of good football to play. He's a former MVP. He's actually showed playoff success. So that'd have to be my loser here in free agency would be the Colts. But I can't disagree with you at all with the loser being the Chargers with losing Melvin Gordon and Phillip Rivers. They lost Hunter Henry as well, their big tight end. I don't know what's going on in there. Maybe they're just deciding, hey, now we're just going through a full rebuild stage. But to me, the loser has to be the Colts. You're paying a guy who's not going to be around much longer, and you don't really know what type of Phillip Rivers you're going to be getting this upcoming season. You could say the same thing about Tom Brady, but Tom Brady, even in these past few years, has proven that he's still one of the elite quarterbacks in this league.
And he's Tom Brady.
Right. His name speaks for himself at this point in his career. So that's what I just don't get. I feel like if the Colts, you were going to make a splash at the quarterback position, you needed to go get somebody like a Cam Newton to come in and run that offense.
I agree. I agree with you. Obviously, the Bills, I think is kind of a shocker to some people, but I think they really won, especially with losing Tom Brady in their division. They're elevating their team to really make a run at that division.
Yeah. Even with Phillip Rivers, they can make a run with the division and work their way into the playoffs. But, like I was saying, though, when we were talking about it, I just don't think – I think the wear and tear that he's had on his arm, throwing the ball upwards of 50, 60 times a game when he was, in San Diego, and even in the later parts of his career, throwing it upwards of 40 to 50 times. You can't sustain that. There's just no way you can sustain that, especially with taking all the hits that he has. That's just my big question mark with Phillip Rivers.
Absolutely.
Now, Court, I just got this breaking news. Now, this isn't going to be football, folks. We're going to move into the wrestling world. WWE's WrestleMania is coming up April 4th and 5th. Big news just came out. They're revising the match card. Roman Reigns is actually refusing to compete at the event due to his immune system being compromised because he has dealt with leukemia for most of his life. So he is no longer going to be facing Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania.
Just a shocking, but, obviously in this time of, what we're dealing with at this time, obviously you want to just wish him the best and know that that's the decision he's making is for himself and to be safe.
100%. I can't blame him for making that decision. I don't think anybody in the company can blame him for that, especially, he's only been a year and a half, almost 2 years removed from, being in remission from his leukemia. So, to me, that's the ultimate goal for him, is just to make sure that he is safe. I respect his decision, especially like you were saying, in these times that, we are living in currently. Your health and safety is first and foremost over anything else. So, it was just breaking news that I saw come through while we're sitting here talking about football. And it was just, kind of a shocker, if you will, not to see him, going to be at WrestleMania this year. Anything else here, Core, that you would like to add, or anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, I think we've kind of covered everything so far.
All righty. Well, guys, if you want to catch up on college recruiting, head over to the OHIO podcast. And Cory, take it away.
Yeah, and obviously with the OHIO podcast, don't always give them a listen, but don't forget to give us a listen as well on any of your podcast listening places anywhere with Apple Music, Google Music, Podcast, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We are on them all, so please give us a listen there. If you have any questions for Nick or Cory, go ahead.
Also, our host site, Podbean. Check us out on Podbean.
Yeah. As well, yes. Don't forget to check us out on Podbean as well. And also, if you have any questions for Nick or myself, please don't hesitate to give us an email here at the 513sportsattack@gmail.com. Also, don't hesitate to also please check out our Facebook page and Instagram page at the 513 Sports Attack.
We appreciate you guys listening tonight. One love.